It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Today's show brought to you by the Maryland 5-Star. Come see Olympic athletes in action as the best horses and riders in the country compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. I'm trying to figure out, I know it's a very spin zone thing to do, I'm trying to figure out if in an odd way I appreciate the fact that the Orioles are making sure there's no drama for the final week of the season. If I would prefer, this is a very Would You Rather Wednesday. Maybe that's good because we barely had a Would You Rather Wednesday yesterday. In a weird way, would I maybe prefer the Orioles just getting out of the way now instead of me having hope going into next week? Imagine getting back next week and then playing a series against the Blue Jays and it matters. You know what I mean? And we're all amped up about it. And they're just on the outside. They're 2 games out going in. So they would need to sweep and somehow hope that the Mariners lost all 3 of their games. And it's just enough to convince yourself that there's a chance. When the reality is there's no chance and you're going to be heartbroken by it.
So they're just trying to save us from the heartbreak.
That's what I'm trying to.
Okay.
What I'm spin zoning
Which is very noble.
In a weird way, I appreciate them not putting us through that. Let's get it all, rip the Band-Aid off now. We know that series is irrelevant. I mean, it's a bummer because now nobody's going to go, right? There's going to be nobody at the ballpark next week.
Well, you got $3 tickets.
There's going to be nobody at the ballpark next week. That part, there's a bummer because they're going to play the games anyway. It'd be nice if we could just sort of hey, let's call the whole thing off. I mean, maybe Grayson Rodriguez could pitch, and that would get somebody to come to the ballpark, I guess. But are we going to talk about that or what? That is also a weird bit for me where I'm are we going to have a conversation about how they handled everything with Grayson Rodriguez, or are we just kind of going to avoid that topic? Are we what we doing there? And I haven't really spent a whole lot of time thinking about it because, again, we've been kind of caught up in the disappointment. And somebody would say, well, it's not like he's dominated since he got back from the injury. And in 2 of his 5 appearances, he gave up multiple runs. Okay, but why did Grayson Rodriguez need to pitch 5 innings for Norfolk over the weekend? Why was that, or was it Monday, I think? Why did that need to happen? What were you getting out of that? And I know it's not the difference. It's not the singular difference in why it is the Orioles are going to end up falling short of the playoffs. But it is still a weird bit that this is how they chose to do things at the end of the season. Anyway, the moral of the story being the Orioles lost. Hope is lost. It's all over. There's no path forward. There's no reason to talk about it. They'll play again this afternoon. That's the nice thing is at least it's not tonight, because if it was tonight, there's no chance that I would look at it because I'll be watching the football game tonight. There's, I guess, a half a chance that I'll look at it this afternoon, but it's a half a chance. I don't think I'm going to be spending any time with it, and we'll probably be plenty distracted this weekend. Speaking of football, coming up, our buddy Ian Eagle is going to join us. You guys know my affinity for Ian. I know your affinity for Ian as a broadcaster. It just so happens to be that not only is he one of the great broadcasters of a generation, he's also been a ridiculously good friend to us for 15 years at this point. I mean, I have no idea how to explain it. It all started famously when Drew and I heard Ian say, this must have been in 2008. They were playing, God, I don't remember who they were playing, but Ian famously said, the CBS camera panned over Camden Yards, and Ian said, they don't play baseball in October in Baltimore anymore. And then he realized that, people are going to be mad about that, and so he was like, it's not a low blow, it's just a fact. And Drew and I love that so much because we all remember what it was like to be an Orioles fan in 2008. It was, if you think this is soul-crushing, if you think it's soul-crushing to have them fall apart in September when you were believing that they had a chance. There was no falling apart in September in 2008. They just stunk, and they had stunk for a long time. And so we loved it. And then Drew and I did a segment, our weekly, I don't remember how this started, but Drew one morning said to me, "I feel like going after somebody today," and I was like, "You want to take a cheap shot?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Do you know who?" He's like, "No, I just want to do it to somebody." I said, "Well, let's make a segment out of it." And so for a while, we had a segment on the show called Cheap Shots, and we would wrap up the segment famously. The way we would end whatever our little rant was by saying, "It's not a low blow, it's just a fact," as a nod to the great Ian Eagle. And Ian found out about it and loved it, and we became friends. And, of course, Ian is a friggin' genius. God, he's so good. So I'm always excited when we get to have Ian Eagle back on the program. He is on the call for Ravens-Bills Sunday on CBS, and he will join us in a bit. Before that, Steve Suter, of course, former Maryland wide receiver and return man, North Carroll alum, will join us. Were you North Carroll?
No, North Carroll closed when I was.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want the history on that?
Nope, don't care.
I was Manchester
I didn't
Valley.
know. If I'm being honest with you, I didn't know North Carroll closed. I did not know that.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was like halfway through my high school career. And
did you start at North?
No, I was at Manchester Valley the whole time,
Okay,
but everyone
all right.
was very upset. Rightfully so. I mean, it was
I
kind
had
of
no
ridiculous.
idea. I had no idea that North Carroll was no longer a thing. Where did
Yeah.
all the kids that were at North Carroll
They all
go?
came to Manchester Valley.
Okay.
So
How many high schools are there in Carroll County?
7, I think. Yeah, 7.
Okay.
So there was 8 for
South
a
Carroll
minute.
is still
Yes,
there, right?
Yeah, South
Yeah.
Carroll, Liberty, Century, Winters Mill, Westminster, Francis Scott Key, Manchester Valley.
How about that?
And so there was 8 for like a little bit because Manchester
And
Valley
yet I'm going
opened in
to and yet I'm
2009.
going to bet you still couldn't name all the counties in Maryland.
No, yeah, I couldn't.
I
Well,
don't understand why this is so difficult. I don't understand. Like,
there's a lot more than 7.
I have a friend who's from Iowa, my friend Dan, and last night we were playing John Proctor trivia, and a county question came up, and Dan was like, I couldn't believe somebody. Dan was telling me a story that the week that I missed of trivia, one of the questions was, "What's the westernmost county in Maryland?" And he made it seem like it was a difficult question. I'm like, "It's Garrett County. That's not that hard." And he was like, "Wow, you really know your counties." I'm like, "This drives me nuts." It kills me that people don't. Although I did get an Eastern Shore County question wrong once at John Proctor Trivia.
Unbelievable.
I knew all the counties.
That's ridiculous.
I didn't know which was the one. Like, there was a specific town.
It was Queen Anne's, obviously.
No, it was definitely not Queen Anne's. It was either Worcester or Wacomico. And I think I guessed Wacomico, and it was Worcester. And I don't remember what the question was, but I promise you I know all of them. Just didn't know which one a specific town was. God, what do we get? I'm trying to remember. I like to, when they're sports-related questions at John Proctor Trivia, I like to repurpose them on the show the next day, but I have completely blanked and forgotten all of the questions that occurred as part of John Proctor. Oh, it was way too easy. It was the sports question last night was name one of the 2 Orioles that has 30 stolen bases on the season. I'm like, really? Really?
It's a good question.
No, it's not. Not a good question at all.
Did you get it right?
Yes, we got it right.
Rugnetto Odor is one of them.
Yeah, great. No, I chose Mateo as my answer, and I wanted to write down both of them, but he made it very clear you're only allowed to write down one name. So I was like, all right, I guess I can't get extra credit for this. I'm trying to think. There was another one. This one I had never heard before. The neighborhood where Under Armour is located is called Blank Point.
Fells Point?
It's definitely not Fells Point. I promise you Under Armour is not located in Fells Point. Now, understand that I would not, from that alone, because I thought Under Armour was in Port Covington. So I would have, from that alone, not been able to get the answer, but there was a second part, a hint, and it was the blank shares a name with the world's most popular laundry detergent.
Why can't I think of the most popular?
All right, this is
Tide Point.
Yes, it's Tide Point. I mean, once they said that, I figured it out. But I got to be honest with you, I've never heard of Tide Point in my life. In my life, I've never heard of Tide Point.
Where's Tide Point?
Apparently, where Under Armour is.
Ah.
I've been there a few times. Never heard of it referred to as Tide Point in my life. You know what else I learned yesterday? This one I'm a bit more embarrassed by. This is just Glenn opening up now.
It's in Locust Point.
Locust Point makes more sense. Locust Point is definitely more like Port Covington and Locust Point are basically the same thing, so that makes more sense that it would be Locust Point. I don't know what Tide Point is supposed to be.
When I Google Tide Point, it knows I'm talking about Locust Point, though, which is I don't see Tide on the screen anywhere.
Because why would you? Because why would you? God. All right. Anyway, so I also this is a straight shoot. This is quite embarrassing. You know, I've done soccer for a long time in my life. Like I've broadcasted 1 billion soccer matches. So every time now that we do a game over at the new place at Stevenson, we're in a bit of a bind because we're out in the elements. There's no longer. We're going to fix that at some point, but they just built this new athletics facility over at Stevenson so that the soccer teams could play on natural grass instead of playing on turf. So we're out in the elements, right? And so as a broadcaster, when you're out in the elements, you got to remember to tape down your notes because they can go flying away in the wind. And we're also elevated, so the wind is worse. So as the game's getting ready to play, I see the teams lined up, and I say, all right, well, if this team is lined up on this side, then which side are they attacking? Because I always want to have my notes for that team on the side where they're attacking, right? So if you're attacking the right side from left to right, I want to have your notes on my right. I want to sync up side you're attacking with side of my brain, essentially. This is the dumbest thing I always thought. This is so embarrassing to admit as a broadcaster. This is the dumbest. I am so stupid. I just sort of thought that, like, if you were the home side and you were on the left, that meant your goalie would be on the left and you would be attacking left to right. I had no idea they did a coin toss.
Really? In soccer they do a coin
I
toss?
had no idea. I've done 1 million soccer matches in my life. I had no clue. It's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing because I'm never involved with that. Like, apparently it happens in private. It's not like in football where they do a huge ceremony about it. Like, they do it in private before the game, and nobody knows about it. There's no announcement like, hey, they've chosen they want to go left to right or right to left. And I was talking about it with a couple of soccer players, and they were like, yeah, there's barely any reason to choose one side or the other. So typically the team that wins the coin toss just chooses the side that they're standing on. Like, well, we're already set up over here, so let's have that for the first half. Like, it's in football.
Maybe there's some fields where it's like crooked. So like,
or there's some fields, like at Maryland, for example, they have the student section right over top of one of the goals. Right. So I believe they want the opponent going towards that goal in the second half because Maryland has this crazy atmosphere for soccer matches on Friday nights, and they want people screaming and making it difficult. And, you know, maybe if there happened to be like a penalty kick, you'd have a bunch of like shirtless weirdos like flipping out and trying to distract you, something like that.
Don't call me a weirdo.
Well, you didn't. I mean, were you one of them?
No.
Yeah, good for you if you were. I know they did. That's a big thing at like Arizona
fun.
State basketball games.
Right,
they
right.
act out. They do like scenes. It's wonderful.
They have that curtain or whatever.
Exactly. So there are places where I guess it could be relevant, like where you could make a choice. But the sense that I got in talking to some people is most places it makes no difference. There's no reason for any of this. But I feel very, very dumb as a man who again has broadcasted, I don't know, a billion soccer matches at every level. I've done MLS. I've done college soccer at multiple levels. I mean, D1, D3, men's, women's, the whole thing. I've done. I've worked TV games for ESPN. Like I've called multiple different conference championships at the Division I level. I mean, multiple conference championships.
Well, now you know.
I have helped teams punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament, not just the Patriot League. As I work at Loyola, I've done America East. I've done all sorts of. I've done high school soccer. I've done everything, and I had no idea.
Well, now it's just something you can add to the broadcast.
Oh, I can't because I don't know when it's happening. They don't tell me who won the coin toss. So mind blowing, man. I'm not proud. I'm not proud of the fact that I didn't know that. That's a really bad look for a guy that's called this. Might answer a few questions as to why it is that, for example, I'm not doing MLS any longer. Might explain a thing or two. You know what? In hindsight, I might have learned why it was that I was not long for my MLS. John from Little Rock. I always love when John just checks in to say good morning. I appreciate that. Good morning to you, John. Love you, buddy. Appreciate you chiming in. Also, we'll do picks today. KZ will join us, and we will make our picks. So that's what's coming up on the program today. A lot of hullabaloo about Ronnie Stanley at practice yesterday because, according to reporters, Ronnie Stanley typically had not been on the field at the end of practice. So for those that don't know how this works, reporters are invited to the beginning of practice. And for the most part, it's done for a specific reason. The reason is because at the beginning of practice, you're doing individual drills. Maybe you're working on special teams things. You're not doing anything that involves the actual install or rehearsing things that you're planning to use for like scripted plays at the beginning of a game or something like that. So they invite, because teams are required to allow reporters to watch a portion of practice every day, they specifically allow reporters to come out for the very beginning of practice when they're not doing anything at all that would be relevant for anyone to see, because as you know, everyone in the NFL is paranoid. By the way, apparently the Dolphins were getting their practices spied on when they were practicing at the University of Cincinnati this week because they wanted to get out of Florida ahead of the storm. So, weird bit. By the way, of course, thoughts with everybody. I mean, some devastation right now. The scenes in Florida are just horrifying. So the thoughts and prayers, I know that sounds empty, but I don't know what else I can offer. If there's somebody in our audience, if there's somebody that's one of our regulars that's been impacted by the storm, then please reach out, and we will do everything in our power to raise some money for you, raise whatever we can do, I swear. It's just horrifying seeing these videos and these pictures emanating from neighborhoods like Naples, where they just appear to be completely devastated. So that's the way it works, is that they don't invite you. But what happens is then they do, at the end of practice, they do media availability. And the Ravens practice outdoors, and they have John Harbaugh meet with the media outdoors. So the reporters are able to come back to practice afterwards. And as the players were leaving the field, the reporters that were there noticed that Ronnie Stanley was leaving the field with the players. And they immediately pointed out, boy, that's different, as apparently Ronnie Stanley had not been on the field at the end of practice at any point yet. Sure enough, injury report comes out, and Ronnie Stanley is listed as a full participant in practice for the first time. Now, what does that mean? Don't have the answer to that. John Harbaugh, made a word salad out of it, and I'm not mad at John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, still might not know. But if he does know, he's also not inclined to tell anyone because, he'd say, I don't feel the need to tell Sean McDermott what's going on with Ronnie Stanley. I saw a bunch of theories floating around. Some people that said, hey, you would think that they would want Ronnie Stanley to stack maybe a week or two worth of full practice, and then that would be the sign that they would need in order to say, okay, he's ready to go out. So maybe it's not this week, maybe it's next week. I don't know. This is what John Harbaugh said. The question was asked by Sean Stepner of ABC2. With the situation at left tackle, what are you looking at from Ronnie Stanley, and how much emphasis has been put on him to be available this week? John Harbaugh's answer, yes, it's really just what we see, certainly, and what he feels. Those are the two things that both have to be taken into account. Ronnie is not going to want to go out there, and we're not going to want him to go out there if he doesn't feel like he's going to be good, if he's not going to be ready to go. It's a priority to go out there and be at his best when he comes back. At the same time, he's going to have to jump in at some point, so it could be this week. We'll just have to see. He practiced quite a bit today, and we'll see where it's at now, and then tomorrow, then Friday, and make a decision. Like I said, word salad. And I'm really not making fun. This is part of the reason. It goes back to why it is that I kind of stopped doing this, because I get it. I'm in on it. They might not believe it, but I'm in on it. I get it. They just don't feel it necessary. We had this whole conversation, Stan the Fan and Bo last week, about, bettors and their involvement with this, and if at some point the NFL is going to have to step in and say, like, no, we can't keep playing these games because betting is too important to the sport and people need to have more information. But until the NFL does that, the teams are going to continue to give these types of answers. We don't want the Bills to know. And also, as I always say, there's also still a chance that they really don't know. That, all right, this was the next step in the process. Let's have Ronnie go out there and practice for an entire period, see how he comes out of it, see how he feels, and see like if he feels he's ready to go. We're going to have to keep waiting for an answer, which is frustrating. But it does seem like yesterday was a step, whatever step it is, but a step in the process of seeing Ronnie Stanley back on a football field. Today's show also brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Brand new, soon to be available. You can use the code TAILGATE at Ginsu Grills in order to reserve yours and save $100 when you do. It's the perfect ceramic tailgate or home grill for searing, grilling, baking, and smoking all kinds of food. If you are headed to the Ravens game on Sunday or any point this season, there's a great tailgate party being thrown by mothers at Hammerjacks, and I know that's complicated, but it's the Mother's Tailgate at Hammerjacks. Free to get in, all-inclusive for $49 with premium brand open bar and great food. Tickets, details available at hammerjacks.com, and while you're there, stop by the Pressbox Ginsu Grills tent for free samples and contests, including a giveaway. Giving away a Ginsu Kamado grill and $500 in grilling meats. If you stop by that tailgate, Mothers hosting at Hammerjacks on Sunday. On Saturday, Maryland football tries to bounce back. They were game for the effort, just came up a little bit short against Michigan. They look to bounce back as they take on Michigan State in College Park. Joining us now to preview that, talk about the Terps. He is, of course, one of the all-time greats in Maryland football history, wide receiver, return specialist, North Carroll alum, and now Maryland football radio color analyst. It's Steve Suter, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Steve, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat as always, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Glenn, absolutely, man. I'm glad you had me on.
Well, Steve, I'm in a weird place, right, where I have cared deeply. I mean, my father and I drove to Florida to watch you play in the Gator Bowl once upon a time. Like, I love Maryland football. I don't want to be the guy that, like, talks about moral victories or things like that, right? Like, I hate that concept. And yet, I feel like we should be encouraged. I know it's disappointing because you look at a couple plays. Like, what happens if, you don't fumble the opening kickoff on Saturday? Maybe you actually go back and review some of those interceptions that I'm not sure were intercept. Like, there was an opportunity there for Maryland to win. They didn't win, but yet it really does feel like it had to be encouraging for what they might be able to do moving forward. The fact that, a year ago, when they were playing the big dogs in the Big Ten a year ago, Steve, they were getting drubbed by 30 points a game. They were right in this thing. That we have to look at that as a positive, don't we?
You sure can, and I can understand all of the reasons why you would. From my perspective, they still didn't play well, in my opinion. Watching the game, now that's not to say I didn't think they were the better team through spurts throughout that game against Michigan, because they certainly were. But you pointed out the turnovers. They gave Michigan 3 turnovers. Yes, some of them should have been reviewed and maybe gone the other way. But the point is, they were close. They shouldn't have been balls that Tagovailoa threw. And then, of course, the Ty Felton kickoff to start the game. So they still beat themselves, in my opinion. But it's encouraging that you were in the game with the number 4 team in the country and you still have room to improve and vastly, right? Because turnovers are the biggest key in deciding a win and how that game goes. So giving them 3 is just, something they need to continue to clean up. They did a great job with the penalties from the weeks prior to last week with Michigan, but the turnovers killed them. And then they just went cold that third quarter when they went cold on offense. That was the quarter that cost them the game.
How much do you, obviously it's imperative that Leah be out there, and I know he practiced this week, and it would help a lot if Kim's out there too. But how much of what happened offensively do you think was related? As you would imagine, Steve, we've gotten very nervous about quarterback injuries over the years at Maryland. It's been way too much of a theme.
Rightfully so.
How much of it do you think was him dealing with having taken the shot and just not being 100% right at that point?
That's hard for me to judge, right? Not knowing how exactly he was feeling. He sure seemed like he was ready to go when he came back in. Prior to that series, he was jumping around the sideline, so it didn't look like anything was really ailing him from a physical standpoint. Maybe there was something mentally in his head that was still clicking, like maybe his clock in the pocket got a little shorter after he took that big hit. I mean, that play when he got the wind knocked out of him and Corey Dyke just dropped that pass for an obvious
right.
20-yard gain. That was I hate to circle just one play and put it on one player, but that drop pass was really significant in the end, the outcome of that game. They would have been in field goal range or just outside of it and rolling as an offense. So that was a big momentum killer. Plus, Tagovailoa took the blow there. But if Billy Edwards doesn't have to come in that next play on 3rd and 9 because Dyche has caught that ball, he's coming in on a 1st and 10. And if Tagovailoa is only sitting out one play, then we're going to hand the ball off to Hemby, and Tagovailoa is back in for the next, the second down of that next series. So that play was so big in my mind. But as far as the original question, sure, maybe Tagovailoa was a little bit quick in his, pocket presence there to force that second ball, which was just a little bit irrational from him. He hasn't made that type of mistake this season. So hopefully that was just a fluke brain decision that he made. I know he wishes he could take back.
He is Steve Suter, Maryland radio football color analyst. He is with us here on GCR. Steve, again, I try to go over the positives. We'll get to the negatives. The other positive for me, the penalties were such a concern coming out of the SMU game. I mean, they nearly gave it away just because of penalties alone. For there to be just one the following week against Michigan, I'm imagining that you're still filing it away as like something that you're concerned about, not like one game alone does not make you convinced that this will never be a problem again. But how impressed or how important was it to you that there was clearly focus paid to it and that they did get that cleaned up after what had been flatly a disaster the week before?
100%. The key word I kept using was refreshing. It was just so refreshing to watch them play without committing penalties. And I've been racking my brain going back to last season. How can Coach Loxley and their staff not get this corrected? I mean, is the discipline not strict enough? And I kind of get the conundrum that they're in, right? I'm going to point the guy out, right? Mason Lunsford, a couple games ago, SMU, he had 3 penalties. They pulled him out eventually after the 3rd penalty for punishment, obviously, and they put Emilio Moran in there, and then he commits the false start
right.
as his replacement. So you're like, man, damned if I do, damned if I don't, right? How do you penalize or discipline the player without penalizing the team? And it's just a circle that's hard to answer, because if you don't have the best players in, then you're hurting the team. But if you have your best players in and they're committing penalties, that's hurting the team. So what do you do? So yes, it was very refreshing to watch them play a game and only commit 1 penalty, but that is the anomaly, right? We need to do that 3 or 4 or 5 games in a row to have me convinced that it's been corrected. And so going back to my debate on what needs to happen with the coach staff, it finally dawned on me, it can't come from the coaches anymore. It has to be a player in the locker room, and pick the biggest and baddest player, somebody on offense, like an offensive lineman, like DJ Glaze. Like, are you the guy that is going to get up in somebody's face? And I'm talking about a teammate in a locker room that has committed a bonehead penalty. Are you going to check that in the locker room as a player and as a captain, right? That needs to happen for the players, I guess, to get accountable, because whatever the coaches were doing prior, it wasn't working. And maybe somebody got up in the locker room and voiced their opinion, and same on defense. Like, I know when I played, right, you weren't going to commit bonehead penalties and there not be repercussions from the players, right? Not the coaches, the players. Somebody was going to confront you in the locker room if your penalty cost us a ball game. And maybe it got physical, and sometimes I'm not promoting that, but that happens in the locker room, and sometimes it needs to happen in the locker room. So I'm not saying that did happen here, and maybe I'm making too much of it, but that's where the correction has to come from. The team's got to police themselves.
It's well stated. That there's got to be that level of accountability within the locker room and within those guys. Steve, the easy assessment for me to make, the dumb guy statement, but I'll make it anyway and let you follow up on it. The run defense is going to need to be a little bit better.
100%. It's been a problem from them dating back to last year. That game, watching Michigan just line up double tights and just run power and power and power, and Maryland really couldn't stop it. Now, yes, they bent but didn't break, I guess you could say, for the most part, but on certain situations they did break. But you just can only do that for so long. If somebody's just going to keep pounding you and pounding, you can't stop, and you're giving up 5 and 6 yards of carry, eventually they're going to pop one. So you're putting yourself in that position to have those breaking moments. And it goes back to like last year with Minnesota. Just that was embarrassing. If I was related to the defense for Maryland at all last year after that game, you probably wouldn't have saw me in the dining hall or walking to campus for a week, hanging my head. So that it kind of had that vibe. Michigan was just like, look, we're trying to pass here early on. It's not really working. What are we doing? Let's just get back into our power run game because that's working. So it's very hard to coach up how to stop that, because if you sell out against the run, you leave yourself vulnerable to play action and deeper, big chunk plays. Like, how do you want to die, right? By 1,000 cuts or by one big one right away? So Brian Williams, the defensive coordinator, is in a conundrum. You just need to, in certain aspect or times in the game, right, somebody needs to win a one-on-one matchup. And you just got to look at Nasili Kite, the D tackle, or Ami Finau, the nose guard. When you're getting just the ball ran on you, it only takes one guy to beat their guy one-on-one and create a TFL, right? And then you're like 2nd and 13 versus 1st or 2nd and 6. And now that can change a whole series of downs, just one guy winning his one-on-one matchup. And that's what I kept looking for Maryland to do up front. They didn't do a great job of it. Occasionally they did, and they would get a stop. They just gotta string more of those together.
Steve, starting on Saturday, there's this little stretch here in the schedule where it's not quite as daunting, right? I'm not trying to be dismissive of anybody, and I know that this is still a well-coached Michigan State team, even if the results have not been good so far this season. But with Michigan State, Purdue, Indiana, Northwestern, before you get back into the Wisconsins, Penn States, Ohio States of the world at the end of the year, it feels like there's a real opportunity here for Maryland to make a statement in these next couple weeks about where they are amongst the teams in the Big Ten. I don't know, because it's not like they're likely to end up competing for a Big Ten title or something like that. So how much it matters versus just finding 6 wins and getting bowl eligible again, I don't know what the difference is, but it really feels to me like this is a critical portion of their schedule to make a statement about the entire direction of the program.
I would agree. And before this season started, looking at the roster, I would have been disappointed if they only won 6 games just because of what they had coming back. They had the most starters, I think, in the Big Ten returning. Their whole offensive line was returning. The defense was mostly returning, and granted, maybe they weren't great at times, but they were getting what I thought key players were back, in Deontay Banks had helped them in the secondary more to let Tarheeb Still move around a lot. But his injury early this season's really affected his play style and their ability on defense to use him. But 6 wins would have been disappointing, because you are supposed to take the next step. And if you only win 6 again, did you really take the next step? And just because you played Michigan well, does that mean you took the next step? In my opinion, it doesn't. I want to see the wins in the win column. And now through 4 weeks of the season, if I'm right, let's take yourselves to Vegas, right? The over on Maryland, I think, was like 5 wins before the season. Now with the stretches, you're looking at Michigan State winnable, Purdue's winnable, Indiana's winnable, Northwestern's winnable. Even going to Wisconsin has a higher win percentage than it did before the season started. So that over/under had to have changed, I'm assuming. And now 6 games just to get bowl eligible will be really disappointing for me as a fan and watching the team and hoping for the progression. I think you got to get 3 out of 4 of the next 4 really for me to be pleased. I mean, I obviously don't just have to please me, but I think fans in general now would see that it's the possibility you can win 3 out of the next 4. You already have your 6, and then anything can happen with Wisconsin, and then you got Rutgers there at the end. Penn State and Ohio State would be tough for sure, but I want to see 7 wins minimum, and I want the 8th win to happen in the bowl game. And I think the team's good enough to do that. Will they not shoot themselves in the foot and get it done is the question.
And by the way, to what you're pointing out, I think if you were to go win, let's say 3 of the 4, maybe even all 4, the belief that you have and what that does for a program to make them think that they could go win some of those games later in the season. I know that's esoteric. It doesn't actually translate to who the better team is, but I got to think it would make a world of difference. I think about like the ACC championship team at Maryland and how like winning a game at Georgia Tech on Thursday night made them believe they could go do other things. Like I do feel like it would play a significant role in making this team feel slightly different going into those late season games, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Penn State.
I'm 100% on board with that. It's not a tangible thing, but it's a real thing. Teams play better when they think they're better. And that's a weird vibe. Right? You could look yourself in the mirror. It could go as close as like you look good in your uniform before you walk out on the field. You're going to play better. It's
Right.
so weird, right? The confidence of a Division I athlete. So the greats probably stay way more even, right? They don't fluctuate positive or negative on their confidence levels, and that's what makes them great. But for the vast majority of everybody else playing, you need something to be in your corner to make you feel like you're good. And if it takes 1 or 2 plays, or it takes a whole game, or even if it just takes going up to Michigan and putting a good effort out there, you only lost by 7. If you can build confidence off of these things, it does snowball. It's a real thing. And if they can get a win here at Michigan State, take down Purdue, go to Indiana and win, come back and face a bad Northwestern team and get that dub, and you win all 4 in a row, then going to Wisconsin is not as far-fetched as it would have been before the season starts, because the team's going to think they can win, and that means a lot. So I'm on in your corner on that.
Speaking of looking good, before I let you go, the most important question, obviously, your thoughts on the helmets.
Oh, dude, I know why they won't have the Terps grip being the permanent helmet, and it's way above my pay grade and has money all entwined in it, right? Under Armour has their piece, and then right, whatever. I'll probably get myself in trouble if I keep on. But it's easily the best uniform. It's easily the best uniform, and everybody I talk to says the same thing. Former players, current players. It's very frustrating that they won't just make the switch and make that the permanent home. Oh man, jersey, but that's a fight that I don't have the wallet to fight.
It will be dope to see it, though. It will be dope to see it on Saturday for sure.
Yeah, great.
At Suter_Steve on Twitter is how you can follow him, and of course, obviously, the Maryland radio broadcast every week. Steve, is there anything else I can plug for you, man?
Oh, no, I'm good.
Hey, dude,
thank you, brother.
Really appreciate you taking the time for us as always.
Man,
Let's do it again, all right?
All right, see you.
Steve Suter checking in with us here on GCR. Appreciate him doing that as we look ahead to Maryland, Michigan State on Saturday. And, yes, they will be wearing the Script Terps helmet for that game. And I have to admit this troubles me because I do associate, of course, some of my favorite memories with the Script Terps helmet. But I've said all along, it's just we put the flag on everything in this state. I love it when they just have the flag on their helmet. I love that other people don't know what it is and wouldn't understand it's just our obsession with the flag because the flag is perfect. I was made fun of by I told the story. I was working a soccer match at Stevenson the other day, and it was colder than it was when I left my house that morning. And I was wearing short sleeves and shorts. And I went back to the car looking to see if I had a hoodie, and sure enough, I didn't. The only thing I had in the car was a scarf. It was a Maryland flag scarf. And everybody was laughing about the idea of me coming back up with a scarf, and then they had to admit, like, that's a dope-ass scarf. Yeah, it is. It's an awesome scarf, ain't it? Bet you're jealous you don't have one. I can't be mad about the flag just being the helmet. I'll never be mad about that. That day will never come. It's the greatest flag ever known to man. But I get it. I do understand why it is that everybody wants to see the Script Terps. And you're going to get to see it on Saturday, and we'll see you after that. All right, today's show is also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. When we come back in, the great Ian Eagle will join us. We will preview Ravens-Bills. He's on the call Sunday for CBS. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with Pressbox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests. And of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, October 4th at 7 p.m. at Guilford Hall Brewery, 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The 2022 baseball season is in full swing, and the future is brighter than ever for your Baltimore Orioles. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
And together we bring you the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon with everything you need to know about the Orioles and baseball as a whole. From veterans like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Ryan Mountcastle,
to young stars like Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez, and DL Hall.
We've got you covered for every game, every pitch,
and every debut.
You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. So join us live on the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest, and I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
Stan the Fan Charles is going to be previewing the Maryland 5-star a little bit later on today on Facebook Live. Coming up at 3:30, he will chat with Joe Meyer, world-class eventing writer, to preview the upcoming Maryland 5-star. You'll be able to find it at facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or if you miss it live, you can see it at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Earlier in the week, Stan and Ross Grimsley caught up with former Oriole Bill Swaggerty. You can find that show in the same locations. Apparently, Michael Pierce posted something earlier today. I don't really know what I'm looking at, but this is on Instagram. It's a jug of something from Firehouse Subs, and it says, "When I get out of surgery later," which would make you think he's having surgery. As Jonas Schaefer of the Baltimore Sun pointed out, looks like Ravens defensive tackle Michael Pierce has indeed decided to get surgery on his torn biceps, which John Harbaugh said would be season-ending. Remember, John Harbaugh had said there might be a decision that needs to be made. reading into it, that could be the answer as to what the decision is going to be. Two other notes related to the Ravens before we talk to Ian Eagle. Lamar Jackson was named AFC Offensive Player of the Month for September. I can't imagine why. I mean, what did he do? I mean, obviously, Talia Tagovailoa was certainly in the conversation for the award as well, but Lamar Jackson's been genius. He's been brilliant, so he was named AFC Offensive Player of the Month. And our buddy Brian McFarland, Ravens salary cap on Twitter from Russell Street Report, shares out the details of Jason Pierre-Paul's contract, which certainly, when you get the actual details, far different than the original reporting. Jason Pierre-Paul's 2022 cap number is $1.15 million, which includes his base salary of $1 million and a $150,000 signing bonus. Deal includes $4.35 million in not likely to be earned incentives, which don't count on the 2022 cap. I would always encourage you to follow Brian on Twitter. He is very insightful. He says JPP earns $500,000 if he reaches 5 sacks. That increases to $1 million if he reaches 7 sacks, and to $2 million if he gets 9 sacks. That's where it maxes out for sack incentives. He also earns $500,000 if he reaches 53% of defensive snaps. That increases to $1.35 million for 60% of defensive snaps and $2.35 million for 70%. It's a $2.35 million max. Any amount of the incentives earned by Jason Pierre-Paul will count as a negative adjustment to the Ravens' 2023 salary cap. So that's where things get messy, right? And teams start to look and see like, oh, you're getting awfully close to a certain number. Maybe we don't have you on the field in a certain situation, and that's always controversial, and I don't much care for it, but hopefully that won't be a problem or something that we have to worry about too much. And it would be nice if Jason Pierre-Paul, I would prefer he hit all of them and play brilliantly after arriving. That would be great.
Maybe he was like, I want to wear number 4, so the Ravens were like, fine, but we're only giving you $1 million as your base salary.
You're still bothered by this. Yeah. You're still very bothered by the fact that Jason Pierre-Paul is wearing Sam Cook's number. Bothers you a great deal. Who would you be okay with on this roster? Who would you be okay with wearing Sam Cook's number?
No one.
There you go.
Maybe
Dynamite.
No. Yeah,
what about Lamar? What if Lamar wanted to switch number 4?
I guess if
would
Lamar
you be all right
with
him wearing?
Yeah, if Lamar really had to, but he looks really good in that 8. So
I understand, but if he really wanted
if
that
he
was
really
he wanted
to,
all along, was 4. Sam leaves or retires, and he's like, dude, I've been eyeing that number the entire time. You'd be okay with that?
Fine, I would allow it. Yeah. Probably
Nobody
the only
else.
one. I think maybe
Bateman?
Tucker, I guess, if Tucker really wanted 4 for whatever
That's a
reason.
good point, right? He's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. You would
just
think.
those 2.
Literally just those guys.
Yes.
Rashad Bateman, no.
No.
Mark Andrews, he's on the cover of Press Box. Mark Andrews is maybe the best tight end in all of football.
That's another
What if
tough
he
one,
wanted
too.
number 4?
I wouldn't be as happy.
What if in Bo Smolka's cover story, it had said in there, you think I'm good now? Imagine if I got the number that I always wanted. I could wear number 4.
I wouldn't be as okay with it as I would with Lamar.
If
and
you
Tucker,
could go
but
pick up this print issue of Press Box at your
I think
neighborhood
I'd
Royal
have to
Farms
allow it.
right now, and that's what it said. Like it was, instead of larger than life being the headline, it said pushing 4 with the number 4 greatness. If that was, and you could read that also at PressBoxOnline.com, you're telling me that you wouldn't be okay with Mark Andrews wearing number 4?
I mean, I guess if he wanted to, he would also. I would have
But
to allow
nobody
it.
else.
Yeah, nobody else.
You know, Marlon Humphrey's pretty good. He wears 2 4s. Maybe he only ever wanted to wear 1 4.
I guess if Marlon wanted to.
Now, we like Tyus Bass.
No, I want Tyus. I gotta
Wow.
there.
Wow. Our friend
I don't
Tyus
want
Bowser.
Tyus Bowser.
Jeez. All right. Very good. Hey, I had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his schedule, because he's also doing Thursday Night Football this week. But it's always a pleasure for us to catch up with the great Ian Eagle here on GCR. Always one of my favorite moments of the year. The first Ian Eagle Ravens game of the season is coming up this Sunday as the Ravens host the Bills on CBS. Ian and our friends Charles Davis and, of course, Evan Washburn will be on the call, and he is back with us once again on GCR. The great Ian Eagle. Ian, always appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Hey, Glenn, I feel like it's it's like a rite of passage. The season officially begins when I appear on your program, and the hope is this won't be it. There will be more Ravens games to come.
I got a funny feeling that'll be the case. I was also really hoping that this would work out, that you would be able to say on Sunday they are playing baseball in Baltimore in October this year, but unfortunately does not look like that is going to be the case. Hey,
I'm not rooting for that streak, by the way. I hope you understand.
I do know.
I want that streak to end. I want that drop to end. I want it to be over and a thing of the past.
I understand that, and we have never, you know darn well, we never took it personally. We loved it. It was we ran with it for years. It was one of our favorite things. And before we get to this game, I noticed kind of a neat thing happening this weekend. Noah's got Maryland on Saturday. You've got the Ravens on Sunday. Is there any opportunity for you guys to like have a meal together or something like that?
Well, it's coming off. You are very perceptive and observant. It's coming off a week where he was actually home because he had Iowa at Rutgers. So he ended up coming back to Jersey early in the week, staying with us for the majority of the week, and then going to the hotel to get ready for his production meetings and the game later in the week. So I got to see him quite a bit. I had to leave for Thursday Night Football towards the latter part of the week for that Pittsburgh-Cleveland game, but Noah and I got some quality time in, which was really nice. With that said, no, he's got to get back out to the West Coast after the Maryland game. He's got a preseason Clippers game, which is actually taking place in Seattle as they try to get the NBA back to a city that deserves it. That's a city that never should have lost the NBA. That was such an unfortunate set of circumstances. So the hope is this is just the beginning for Seattle to getting back into the league, which my understanding is they're the next city up.
That's cool. And by the way, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I know kind of a weird way that all works out too, right? Like everybody brings up Kevin Durant and what could have been, and now you've got a lot of Kevin Durant in your life these days. So everything always comes full circle. This is a really good one, Ian, on Sunday. This is perhaps an AFC Championship game preview. Two of what we believe to be the better teams. I know right now Miami's the 3-0 team and beat both of these teams, so they're probably waving and saying, hi, we know who the best team is in the AFC, but I don't know what else. You don't really have to try all that hard in order to hype this one up before the game, do you?
Oh, no. I mean, this is obviously one of those games that pops off the page because of the quarterback play, the dynamic talents of the two guys, the way that Lamar Jackson continues to improve and evolve, which is saying something for someone who won an MVP award so early in his career. To say that he's getting better is a scary prospect for the rest of the league. Josh Allen, if I look back to his first couple of years in the NFL when I was doing those games, I always came away thinking the same thing back then, which is, man, if they could ever harness this, if they could get rid of those bad throws or forces or unnecessary mistakes, boy, they're going to have someone special. And did they ever do it? Right support in Buffalo, his ability to process as it's happening and change on the fly, and also improve and work on his game. So I give a lot of credit to both QBs for not settling for early success in their career and striving for even more. It's one of those matchups you dream of as a broadcaster. You certainly dream of as an NFL fan, whether you're connected to these two franchises in any way is irrelevant. This is the kind of game that you want to see, and you want to see how it unfolds. You're right. And it could be, if not an AFC Championship preview, certainly a playoff preview. There's a very good chance they're going to see each other again.
Ian Eagle is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Ian, you just described something that I've been struggling with this week, because you know the affinity that we've had for Lamar for some time, and while he has faced this absurd criticism, this nonsensical criticism on a national landscape, we have all known how well Lamar Jackson can throw a football, and that there's nothing wrong with someone who's really good at running the ball, running the ball. But what we're seeing right now, that I have tried to describe what you just, it's like watching an orchestra conductor at the moment. Like the command that he has, it's almost like it doesn't matter what a defense does, because I don't know that I've ever seen someone so in control of every aspect of an offense the way that Lamar has been 3 games into this season.
It might be unprecedented, truly. And I know we could sometimes fall victim to hyperbole, but you have to call it as you see it. And the skills that he combines on the field, the respect level that he has, not just from his teammates. I think if you went around to every NFL city and you went into the locker room, more often than not, the quarterback garners respect. There are obviously occasions where it doesn't happen, and teams then have to make a decision and move on, because if you're not getting respect at that spot, then you can't win.
Right.
But when you have the respect of everybody else, the players you're playing against, the coaches you're playing against, this is the level in which Lamar Jackson has now risen to. It's hard to stop him. I'm also working the Thursday night game, Miami and Cincinnati. So you go through a bunch of notes on both games, and you start looking at what Lamar did against Miami. And you think, I don't know if you can play much better than that in that position. And that's what every team is facing when they have to deal with the likes of him. Buffalo's defense is excellent. It is banged up. They've taken some hits in major positions. And look, I am always hesitant in 3 weeks of a season to start looking at stats and take what is a small sample and extrapolate it and make a statement. Well, these guys can't stop the run. No, it's not obvious. It's 3 games, and sometimes numbers are out of whack because of those games. So I'm not ready to make those kinds of proclamations just yet about a team's defensive unit and what they do specifically against this.
Right.
You need to get to week 6, week 7, and get a real feel, because numbers will get thrown completely out of whack based on circumstances. That week 2 game with Baltimore and Miami, those numbers are going to throw your rankings completely out of whack in a 3-game format. Buffalo last week, they didn't win the game. If you look at the numbers last week, what the Buffalo Bills did against the Miami Dolphins, if you ran that as a simulation 100 times in the NFL, the team with the numbers that Buffalo put up would probably win 97, 98 times. But there are moments and flukes that take place, and the numbers didn't get them to the finish line. So it's a little wonky in the early going, as we know, but you still form opinions and you still get a sense of what teams are capable of. I think what Lamar is doing is nothing short of amazing.
And I'm going to ask you this question, knowing you've done lots of Lamar games and knowing, you've thrown out Lamarvelous and Lamarkable and so many things that we've associated with over the years. Do you feel any pressure as a broadcaster when you know anything could happen? Like that you're sitting down to call a game on Sunday, and at some point you could see something impossible. You could see something that's almost indescribable. Do you feel any more pressure doing a game that involves a player like Lamar Jackson than you do obviously, you've called every team in the NFL, you've called all the great players, but it's just so different, so unique what you might get, and a highlight that might get shared for the ages and will be on Twitter forever. Is there, I know you're very good at this, so maybe you're long past that, but is there something that's different about sitting down to do a game like that?
When I think about it, Glenn, I started doing the NBA before I started doing the NFL. So my first job in the NBA was with the then New Jersey Nets, 1994. And I noticed in those first few years that the NBA would put a top 10 plays of the week out at the end of the week. And if the game you worked, and sometimes it wouldn't be your call. They would use the announcer that was doing the home team call or the visiting call, but you never quite knew. And when those calls popped up, there were guys that were nailing it, and I was really impressed. And there were guys that were in the middle of something else, and it was almost an excuse me call on a big-time highlight. And something was planted in my brain at that point that you can't miss on those moments. And look, we're all human. Things happen. I had a Thursday night game, that Pittsburgh-Cleveland game, and George Pickens had one of the most incredible grabs you will ever see. And my call was spirited, but based on the location of our booth, which is the national radio booth in the corner, based on the fact it was happening on the opposite side of the field, so the defender is blocking Pickens as he hauls it in, I make the call that he made a brilliant catch. But the fact of the matter is I could not possibly have seen him make the one-handed grab during live action. Our broadcast location would not allow it. So there are circumstances that take place that you have to be aware of. But for me, I think the NBA ended up being really good training material for that kind of mentality of don't let the highlight pass you by. Don't get stuck in your notes. Don't get stuck in the middle of some story that nobody's going to remember 20, 25 years from now. What they'll remember is the highlight. So, yes, there is something about preparing mentally for the games where you have a high-level performer like Lamar Jackson. The playoffs this year in the NBA, working the games for Turner. You're doing games every other night. You're traveling the day in between. You're going from one city to another. Sometimes you're following the same series, but other times you're not. You're bopping around from series to series. You're not getting great sleep. You're not eating that. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear it. If there's a big-time highlight, it's incumbent upon you to be in the moment and try to enhance the best you can the highlight on the floor. I had one this year with Ja Morant, which was out of this world. And I just happened to hit it. Just as it was unfolding, I had the right level of excitement combined with the right verbiage that created a fun, memorable highlight. So I think that's how you have to approach it with Lamar Jackson. It's the same way you would approach it with LeBron James, or I approached it with Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan before that. When you're at that superstar level, there's a chance that athlete will accomplish something in that game, a move, a moment that you haven't seen before, and you don't want to be the broadcaster that lets that one fly by without at least getting in the batter's box and taking a good cut at it.
It's pretty significant company you just put him in with Ian Eagle. That is, Lamar Jackson, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Wow. And we've been blessed. We certainly understand it. In preparing for this, anything that jumps off the page at you and say is, hey, I am a little bit concerned. I guess the defense is probably the thing. I know we just said we don't want to overreact to 3 games, but that's the evidence we have, right? That maybe concerns you a little bit about the Ravens, just in the context of being a good team versus being a team that wants to try to win a Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I'd say the fourth quarters have been a bit of an issue, and you don't want to be that team. You hope that that's an early season storyline that goes away, that you start to finish games and take care of opponents when you have them beat. Look, this is a talented group. I don't want to compare team to team to team, different iterations of the Ravens. The team that went to the playoffs as the 1 seed a few years ago, I thought was a really, really strong team. This is not exactly that squad. There are probably some more question marks that have popped up with this particular group. Are they going to get enough pressure on the quarterback consistently? Are they going to see improvement from some of the young guys? Is Patrick Queen going to become a consistent player at this level, someone that they can rely upon? and not someone that flashes in games and provides a highlight here and there, but someone that's always doing his job and doing his job well. The secondary, I think they have a chance to be really good. They just haven't been great so far in this young season. Need to get Ronnie Stanley back. That's a huge part of the puzzle, and making sure that they're whole. The young receivers, is there enough? Is there enough there in big moments? The tight end is ridiculous, and Mark Andrews to me is, if he's not number one right now in the NFL, he's top 2 or 3, and that's saying a lot because it's a very talented position. J.K. Dobbins back in the mix and getting him comfortable and looking like the guy that we saw back in his rookie season of 2020. All legitimate questions and all part of a long NFL season, but you look around the league, Baltimore's in really good shape. They have a nice team. I think they know what they are, but they have to go out and do it.
Yep.
The way this division is set up, too, it's there. It's there for them to go out and win. Cincinnati is good. They, I think, will be fine when the smoke clears, but they don't have the mystique of a defending conference champion. They're not at that level where you think of them in that light. That means the division is open to go out and be won by Baltimore to secure a playoff spot and maybe dictate a bit that the postseason could go through their place, which is really important.
There's no doubt, and obviously it's the one thing that people can still fairly poke a hole in when it comes to Lamar Jackson, because there's nothing else left to poke a hole in. But the lack of playoff success is that one still thing that he has to accomplish.
Yep.
Ian Eagle, I tell you, man, and I mean this, it's not just the friendship, but all those years ago when I was asked to come off the beat and work in studio on game days, I had no idea that the joy that I was about to have for the next decade and a half, as I'll be doing post-game for 105.7 The Fan this week, was that I get to spend my Sundays watching football with guys like you and Kevin Harlan calling games. So we get spoiled. I no offense to your colleagues or your friends I know at Fox, but the fact that we get to hang out with you guys on Sunday afternoons, it makes it all that much more joyous for us, and makes us enjoy watching football that much more. Can't wait for this Sunday, 1 o'clock on CBS with you, Charles, and Evan, Ravens, Bills. And every time I get to spend time with you, I hope you know how much it means to me, Ian Eagle. I appreciate you as always, sir.
Oh, Glenn, that means a lot, and I'm sure Kevin would feel the same way. It's a lot of fun going into Baltimore to call those games. Even before Lamar was there, I just enjoyed the environment, always enjoyed that vibe of doing games in that stadium. And obviously with Lamar, it's been taken to another level because he's often the lead story or one of the lead stories because of what he does on Sundays. This one really should be a lot of fun. I think Buffalo is a tremendous team, and despite their injuries, I would expect them to fight through it.
Yep.
With that said, this is one of those early season litmus tests that you like to get a sense of where these franchises are at. They're definitely looking to bounce back after last week. That was a disappointing loss considering everything that they did out there. They just couldn't turn it into points consistently. And for Miami, it gives them fuel. The Dolphins are feeling good about themselves. They've got an interesting, unique head coach who has a very deep connection with his players. And that can carry you in this league. When there's belief that your head guy is putting you in the best position to succeed, that can lead to lots of wins. And that's why I think Miami is riding high right now. They just have really good energy inside their facility.
I don't know what else to say, man. I just want to say thank you as always. That's all I can do. Thank you as always. Can't wait for Sunday. And I have no doubt that we'll be talking again at some point down the road this season.
Yeah, sounds great. Glenn, always good to talk to you, bud.
It's Ian Eagle. He's awesome. We love him, and glad that he will be doing the game Sunday. Ian Eagle, of course, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn. Ravens, Bills on CBS. And boy, that's It's quite a group of people to associate Lamar Jackson with, saying that calling Lamar Jackson is like calling a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant over the years in the NBA, and that prepared him for what it would be like to call a Lamar Jackson game. That is good stuff from Ian Eagle. Again, the other thing that we keep sort of thinking about as far as Sunday's game is concerned is the impact of the weather. I have bad news. We still, the rest of the year, want you to get to that tailgate party that they're throwing at Hammerjacks, but they've actually already had to cancel that for Sunday because of the weather. There's going to be a football game. Like they're obviously going to play it, but there's clearly serious concerns about what the weather is going to be like in Baltimore this weekend. Pales in comparison to what they're dealing with down in Florida. I want to make that abundantly clear. But plans have needed to be adjusted based on the weather expectations for this Sunday, where, rain is in the forecast throughout the day. Oddly, it feels like the rain chances have, I don't want to say slipped because that's not right, but in fact, it's now 73% chance of rain during the day, 62% chance at night. And it just seems like the rain is expected throughout the course of the day. Maybe we need to have a weather person on tomorrow. Maybe we'll look into that, see if maybe Stevie Daniels or somebody that we know in town. Maybe Marty would come on tomorrow. Let's see if Marty will come on tomorrow. We'll reach out and see if our buddy Marty Bass. God, I still need to get Bob Turk on this show sometime. I gotta get on that. But yeah, we will continue to monitor that heading into Sunday's game. If maybe you were planning on going to the game, but the weather might deter you from those plans, the better place to be, no offense, would be in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. It's, the games will all be on the 100-foot media wall. You can watch and bet on all of them right there. Get your bet pad. More than 60 self-service kiosks, approaching 70 at this point as they've been adding more. Email events at sportssocialmd.com to reserve your spot. And on top of everything else, right now you can register to win tickets to the Super Bowl in Arizona. All you got to do is make a $25 Super Bowl futures bet in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, and you can register that bet FanDuel.com/SBNAZ in order to win 2 tickets to the Super Bowl. And if the Ravens are going to be in it, you're going to want to put some money down on the Ravens winning the Super Bowl, or at least making the Super Bowl. So I'd encourage you to get in to the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. Make that bet. You got to be a Live Rewards member. But I don't know why you wouldn't be a Live Rewards member. Again, FanDuel.com/SBNAZ in order to get your bet registered. When we come back in, it's time for us to make our picks for the week. KZ will join us. It's Glenn Clark Radio. See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Academy, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Don't miss the breathtaking excitement of the dynamic cross-country competition or the elegance of dressage and precision of show jumping. There's also great shopping and activities, including a fresh food fest, corgi race, and a beer, wine, and spirits showcase. So come enjoy a beautiful fall day at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th. Learn more and buy tickets at maryland5star.us.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
The Maryland Lottery presents Ravens' Greatest Plays. 2021, the game on the line. With 3 seconds left, the Ravens connect on an impossibly long 66-yard field goal to beat Detroit, the longest field goal in history. Another great Ravens play belongs to Touchdown Joe from Silver Spring. Joe scratched a Ravens scratch-off and won a top prize of $100,000. You could be next. Play Ravens scratch-offs to win instant cash or enter to win great second-chance prizes. Please play responsibly.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. There's not much we can do about his face.
Hey, the next Tyus Bowser show is coming up this Tuesday night. We will be at Guilford Hall Brewery, 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North with Tyus and his special guest. It's such a cool place. Such an awesome atmosphere for the Tyus Bowser Show. The Tyus Bowser Show is a partnership of PressBox and Great Eights Memorabilia. It is brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. We will see you at Guilford Hall Brewery this Tuesday night in Station North. Your opportunity to come out, rub elbows with some of your favorite Baltimore football players if you need more information. And I don't know what more information you could need. I always struggle with this. Like, what? You just can come out and meet your favorite players. That's simple. Until we tell you that there is a catch, there's no catch. This Tuesday, Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North. But you can find out more. PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser is the website. He is our buddy Ken Zalis. He joins us every week to help us make our picks, and maybe I sneak in a fantasy football question or two, despite the fact that he is long retired and knows nothing now about fantasy football. He's not even really sure what the concept is. What's going on, KZ? How you doing, bud?
I actually think I'm smarter now that I quit.
What do you mean?
And, all that stuff.
I mean, is that just because you're acknowledging now that you never really knew all that much?
I'll never acknowledge that.
You'll never acknowledge that. Am I playing, all right, well, I got to play one of these guys. Am I playing Ezekiel Elliott, Michael Thomas, or Romeo Doubs?
PPR?
It is indeed.
I'm going to go Doubs here.
I like it. That's what I wanted you to say.
I'm gonna go Doubs. I mean, Doubs is one of those guys that preseason there was a lot of hype, but nobody really knew, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't like rookies, but he looks like a number one receiver to me.
Sure as hell does. Sure as hell. Of course, we're also overreacting to one game.
It's really two, because he started to be more involved with targets. And even though he only had like 4 catches the week before for something like 50 yards, you could see the involvement and running more routes. And those targets he really only got one more target this past week than he did the week before. He just caught all of them and happened to score a touchdown. But they're using him in that Devontae Adams role, which will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how, with Lazard possibly coming back this week, how the two of them mix in.
All right. I think I'm good. I think you want to get
Chris. If Chris Godwin plays this week, do I play him over Tyler Lockett?
I think you have to. I think you have to. I mean, he's been out. he came back. He ran around a little bit, had the hammy. If he practices in full, Thursday, Friday, I think you have to. They have nobody to throw the ball to. I mean, that offense looked just awful.
Oh, but hang on, Mike Evans is back this week, isn't he?
I don't know. Yeah, he is. But
they're gonna throw the ball to Mike Evans, dude.
Yeah,
they're gonna throw the ball to Mike Evans.
Tom Brady supported
when Evans and Godwin play together, Godwin's the guy that gets more targets.
Okay, well that might be true. I mean, I might hear you out on that, but you keep saying they don't have anybody else to throw the ball to. Like they do.
Well, like last week they didn't. So it's like, it'll be. I if he plays, I'm going to play him.
And by the way, what is the story on DeAndre Swift? Like he's definitely out. Right?
Who knows? I mean, they haven't said definitely out, but the coach is like, he could use 2 weeks off. So. Sounds like he's out without, he hasn't practiced. So he doesn't practice Friday. He's not playing. And even if he does play, I don't know that we trust him right now with the way they're using both backs, even when he was semi-healthy. I mean, he's not the goal line back in that offense. So you're taking away touchdowns unless he scores on a long one like he did, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. I mean, we're really, they have so many weapons now. I mean, it's weird to say about Detroit, but, with the emergence of Amon St. Brown and the addition of DJ Chark, and they got a good tight end, and Goff likes to throw the ball around and not really check down a whole lot. Swift's one of those guys that's kind of in no man's land right now.
I hear you.
It's sad.
I hear
you. It's sad.
But he's still.
That's a good offense. That's a good fantasy offense, by the way.
I understand that he's still largely been productive.
Take away the long run, and I don't. What's he really done this year?
All right, you know what?
I mean, week one, he lost the goal line carries to Jamal Williams. Same thing in week 4 or week 3. Week 2 he had the big run. Other than that, he hasn't really done it.
I have to drop one of these guys, by the way, in order to pick up a kicker this week. Would you drop Mostert or Russell Gage?
I'd probably drop Mostert at this point. That's going to be. Let somebody else deal with that headache. Yeah. I mean, they have a million running backs. Mostert hasn't really done much this year, and Edmonds had a good enough game last week that they're probably going to sneak him in. I know Gage had a big week, but Gage is one of those guys that I like to have on my bench because any week that Evans or Godwin misses, this is a 10-target guy.
All right. I think the problem is I spent like $2 in fab on Mostert last week.
Yeah, I know.
Mostert, whatever it is.
Yeah, I've had a lot lot of questions about him this week. What do you do? What do you do with him?
It's tough. It's really tough. Also, at this point, all right. I swear to God, this is my last one because we have to make our picks. I want to fire Russell Wilson into the sun.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
But the quarterbacks available in this league are Daniel Jones, Matt Ryan, Mitchell Trubisky, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, and Ryan Tannehill.
You're riding with Wilson.
I have to. I have no choice. And I just want to.
You're right.
I hate it.
You're
so
riding.
much.
I mean, it's got to get better. I mean, there's too much offensive talent.
Does it?
There's really a lot of talent there. It's just got to get better. I don't know.
Gross. All right, let's get into it. Picks. KZ still sits atop the table. He is 19-15. He is 1 game clear of myself and Kyle Ottenheimer. 2 games up on John Proctor and Paul Valley. Griffin is 5 games back, and the good news for Andrew Stecca is Griffin is now closer to him than he is to the top of the table, as Andrew Stecca is 3 games back of Griffin in the race for the worm. So top of the table right now, very muddled, but KZ slightly ahead. Bottom of the table, Andrew Stecca, after having a 5-4 week, which by Andrew Stecca standards is basically like going 9-0. I mean, like that is as well as can be done. He is now only 3 games behind Griffin. At the top of the table, we're playing for a little bit of cash. At the bottom of the table, we're trying to avoid being the one that has to come in here, eat a worm burger, dressed like the worm Dennis Rodman in a wedding dress, performing the worm from Scotty Too Hottie, but then getting stink-faced Rikishi style as well. That's what's at stake. We always pick 3 college games, 6 NFL games. Picks are brought to you this week by Guilford Hall Brewery. As I mentioned, that's where we're going to be on Tuesday night for the Tyus Bowser Show. Guilford Hall Brewery is truly a hidden gem in our city. It is an amazing place. Great craft beer, delicious Bavarian-inspired menu. Open 7 days a week. They do trivia. They do yappy hours. They've got so much going on. You can watch the games there on the weekend, and I'm telling you, man, you are going to pull up and be like, wow, this is here? I had no idea. It is an amazing location. 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. Find out more, guilfordhall.com. First game this week.
Starting in our backyard in College Park, the Terps welcome the Michigan State Spartans Saturday at 3:30 on FS1. Terps are favored by 7.5.
All right,
as of last night.
I hate that. Obviously, I hate the idea that Maryland would be favored by 7.5 in a Big Ten game of any sort. I mean, I wouldn't like that against Rutgers. I hate that, but I'm not gonna make the same mistake I made last week when I was warned. I'm not doing it again. When there is this much movement on a line early in the week. This line started at 4, and that moved very quickly. Somebody knows something. I don't like it. I don't think Maryland should ever be favored by 7. I don't think they should have been favored by 7.5 points against Buffalo or against Charlotte. But somebody knows something, and I'm going to every instinct in my body to say no, you don't pick Maryland to cover that number against a Big Ten team. I get it. Michigan State's been dreadful. I mean, they just got drubbed at home by Minnesota. Somebody knows something. I'm going with Maryland.
Did he say Maryland?
Get to the point. Yeah, I don't know where they touched you on the dog.
Michigan
we need to figure
State.
out.
I get everything you said. It's 7.5. Maybe if it was 6.5, I'd take Maryland. It's over a touchdown. I'll take the point.
Where and when did Maryland football touch you on the doll?
They didn't. They're just not a good program. I don't like taking teams that aren't good.
I mean, I understand. All right, this is a whole different.
I agree with John in Little Rock. He says Terps by 90. He's hammering the Terps. I am too. So Glenn, myself, Kyle Ottenheimer are on the Maryland Terrapins. Paul, John, and
so
Ken.
Sorry. So sorry,
Michigan State.
So sorry.
Where does Stetka sit?
I'm so sorry. Now I have Stetka's picks again this week. I don't know because they're competing. Stetka is also on Michigan State. I'm so sorry, Ken.
I'm sorry.
So sorry. So sorry.
Next up, staying in Maryland, we're staying. Well, it will be in Colorado Springs, but Navy takes on Air Force at noon on CBS. Air Force are favored by 2 touchdowns, 14 points.
I wanna, but I can't. Air Force.
Yeah, I want to believe that last week was something, but I'm with you. I can't on the road. I'll take Air Force.
I know nothing about either of these teams, and we had Ty Lavatai on what was it, yesterday, and it was really fun listening to him. So I'm riding with Navy.
Okay,
Why not?
I like it. I'm good with
Everybody else is on Air Force.
Hey, it's an opportunity. What are you supposed to do? Aren't you supposed to?
I'm supposed. How?
Okay, very good. Thank you.
What's that? Where's Stecka?
What?
Stecka, where's he?
Oh, Stecka's also on Air Force.
Okay, so yes, I am Lone Wolf. I like it. Feel good about it now. Last college matchup, number 10, NC State taking on number 5, Clemson, 7:30 on ABC. I think I wrote down 3:30. I think it's 7:30 on ABC. Clemson favored by 6.5.
Boy, I really wish this was 7.5, right? Like, I really wish this was 7.5. I don't know. I feel like we learned about Clemson. Like, I just feel like they're frauds again. I regret the fact that I was maybe making a pick about what I thought Wake Forest football was a week ago, despite the fact that I knew they had a hell of a quarterback. I know that NC State perpetually frauds. Perpetually. Like, it's in their DNA to be frauds. But I just don't know how we trust Clemson at this point. I'm going to go NC State.
Yeah, this is tough for me because I really enjoyed what I saw out of the offense for Clemson last week. It was a step for me because that's been the bad side. But God, I mean, the defense it was like they weren't even there. NC State's, I agree with you. They're usually frauds, but they're usually frauds in November. Like they start out 5-0, 6-0 a bunch of times, and then they'll lose to Appalachian State or somebody, which I guess isn't a bad loss anymore. But I'm gonna take the points. I'll take the Wolfpack as well.
Bad news. One person is on Clemson right now, John Proctor.
Actually, they make it two people.
Okay.
Andrew Stecca's on Clemson, so good news for all of us.
Okay, good. Yeah, there you go.
Moving to the NFL, tonight on Prime Video at 8:15, Miami Dolphins travel to Cincinnati, take on the Bungles. Cincinnati favored by 3.5.
I mean, this is so difficult because, how has this short week impacted Miami? And, where exactly is Tua, who definitely did not have a concussion? Definitely, it was just a back thing. There was definitely no concussion. Does it smell like smoke in here, by the way?
Yes, it does.
It's a little concerning. We might want to deal with that.
Check that out?
Yeah, I'll try to get through the segment, and then we'll deal with it. I mean, if it really starts smelling like smoke, then we'll have to. It smells like smoke. Yeah. It's concerning right now. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what to make of any of this, but ultimately, I'm gonna take the Bengals at home because it's a Thursday night game, and it's been a weird week for the Dolphins. I'm gonna just take the Bengals.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Bengals as well. The Dolphins are very, it's a short week anyway, and I don't think they've really practiced this week because they went to Cincinnati so early. The only problem with Cincinnati for me is that O-line is just awful. They're going to get him killed again. But I'll take Cincinnati. I don't like it, but I'll take Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't like it either. I'm taking the Bengals as well. Short week there at home.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it.
Glenn, myself, Paul, KZ on the Bengals. John and Kyle are on the Dolphins.
Bad news for us. Andrew Stecca also on the Bengals. Yikes.
All right, now to Sunday. This one on Fox at 1 p.m. Colts favored by 3, hosting the Titans.
Look, man, I don't believe in either one of these teams, but I don't think the Colts deserve to be 3-point favorites against anyone. They needed 6 different fortunate sets of circumstances. I think we're overvaluing their win over the Chiefs. I think this is more of a pick-em. If you had thought about these two teams, before last week, I think we're just giving them too much credit. I get it. They played well, and they did win the game, but they needed an awful lot of luck in the process. I am playing the points here. I just wish it was 3.5 because I do still think the Colts can win the game. But I'm going to play the points. Give me the Titans.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Titans as well. I actually think the Colts have a good team. I just think right now defensively, even though they played really well defensively the other day, they're just missing too many people to stop Derrick Henry. So I'm with you. I'm playing the points. I'll take the Titans.
Yeah, I'm kind of going back and forth too, but I'm gonna ride the Colts at home, getting 3. I think this might end up being a push.
I thought they were giving the 3.
Or
they're giving 3.
Yeah. That's what I meant. Sorry.
Well, but you said getting 3. It's a very big
giving.
difference.
Okay, yes. Giving 3. I think it could be a push. But Glenn and Ken on the Titans. Everyone else on the Colts.
Oh, damn it! Andrew Stecca's also on the Titans.
Oh, okay.
No, jeez. Sounds like Stecca's gonna have a good week.
Yeah, I hope. I hope.
On CBS, the Eagles are hosting the Jaguars at 1 o'clock. Eagles favored by 6.5.
Jaguars.
Wow.
Not no. I'm saying it's not Jaguars. It's Jaguars.
Oh, I was like, that was very un-Glenn-like. Like I'm just announcing the pick.
But for what it's worth, I'm also taking the Jaguars.
Jaguars?
No, nobody is taking the Jaguars. Oh God,
I've been writing Jags for.
Oh my God.
Fine. I just don't think that I'm there yet for Philly to be deserving of 6.5. That's it. Against a team that we think is good in Jacksonville. I like Philly. I like Philly, and I get it. We're all in love with them, but this comes off like a reminder that this is still the NFL, and that when you think you know something, you never actually know it. I just don't think this really is on paper, I don't think this should be a 6.5 point spread, so I'm going to choose to play the points here, and I'm going to take Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I think I like Jacksonville. I like what they're building. But Philly's playing on another level on both sides of the ball right now, and they basically had a scrimmage last week. Well-rested, healthy. Hurts is playing out of his mind. It's only 6.5, right?
It's 6.5, yes.
Yeah, under a touchdown, I'll continue to ride Philly.
I feel the same way. I like Philly a lot as well. I have the Eagles. Kyle Ottenheimer has the Eagles. Ken has the Eagles. Everyone else is on the Jaguars.
I got bad news for you. Andrew Stecca also on the Eagles.
All right.
Yep. Well, sorry to tell you.
4 p.m. window, Broncos taking a trip to Las Vegas, take on the Raiders. Raiders favored by 2.5.
I know it burned me last week, but I'm just going to continue to say I hate everything about Nathaniel Hackett, and I'm just going to keep picking against him every week. Give me the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm done picking the Raiders. McDaniel, as much as you with Hackett, I'm the same place with McDaniel. I just think that there are certain guys that are meant to be coordinators, and he's turning out to be one of those guys. He just totally clueless. This offense isn't moving at all with all the talent that they have. They have not figured it out. Denver's going to figure it out at some point. They played a really well defensive game last week. I like their defense. I'll take the points.
I will be taking the Raiders as well as
you had a stat about this, didn't you?
I do, yeah. I already forgot what it is.
Great.
They're 6-2-1 against the
No.
teams that are 0-3.
Yeah, teams that are 0-3
and
if
are
they're
favorites.
favored in week 4
Yes, they are
6-2-1 over the last couple of years.
Yes, entering their week 4 game. So yeah, I like the Raiders a lot. Only 2.5. I like them. It's a must-win game for them. So I think it means a lot more. It's week 4, but it means a lot more to them than the Broncos. So I will take the Raiders. Glenn will take the Raiders. Paul on the Raiders. Everyone else, John, Kyle, and Ken.
How does it mean more to them than the Broncos?
Because they're 0-3. They have to win.
The season's basically over if they don't.
And their season's over at 0-2. It's done. I mean,
and Andrew Steck also on the Broncos.
Okay. I like that. Sunday Night Football, Chiefs taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for right now in Tampa or Miami. I'm not sure what.
No, it's either going to be in Tampa or it's going to be in Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota. Okay.
Minnesota, yeah.
NBC Sunday night, Chiefs are favored by 1.5 wherever it is.
The Buccaneers are a mess. I mean, they're a mess. I get it. Like this is still Tom Brady, and I understand that at any point, like he can still be Tom Brady. But the Buccaneers are a mess. Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way right now. I don't know what the Bucs are doing, and no matter who's played so far this year, they have not looked good. Maybe taking a month off during the preseason doesn't really work for people. But give me KC.
Everybody on the Chiefs.
Lone wolf in it. Andrew Stecca with the Buccaneers.
Wow.
Andrew Stecca. All right.
Finally, here in Baltimore, Bills take on the Ravens, 1 o'clock on CBS. Iron Eagle on the call with Charles Davis and Evan Washburn. Buffalo favored by 3 on the road.
Yeah, the weather is the thing that really screws with me on this one, right? Because I don't really know what happens if the weather is just horrible on Sunday. I'm not sure what that means for this game, but ultimately I'm just going to play the points here. I don't feel great about the Ravens, but I think they're both good teams, and one of them's getting points at home, and so if that's the case, I'm going to take the team that's getting points at home. So that's it. It's really all there is to it, the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bills. They basically gave away a game last week in that heat in Miami. I mean, they totally dominated the offensive side of the ball, and things just didn't work out. I just don't know how the Ravens defense is stopping Josh Allen. And
I don't know if you noticed, the Bills secondary is pretty depleted too.
They are. I look. I think it's going to be a terrific game. Why it's 1 o'clock on a Sunday, I don't know, but. I just have a tough one here. I in a shootout, I think the Ravens score a lot of points. I just don't love them in shootouts, so I'm going to take the Bills.
I'm on the Ravens. Everyone is a homer except for Ken Zalis. Where's Stecca?
Ravens.
Well, that just goes along with, I hate all things.
You do, apparently. Yeah. Everybody's touched you sometime. It's very weird. All right.
KZ, give us a hell.
Yeah, you're the lone wolf.
Oh.
By the way, the reason why it couldn't be a late afternoon game, we needed to get the Patriots-Packers matchup. That's the national TV game.
The spread of that one is what, 10?
4:25.
I think.
So.
What's the Sunday night game?
That's Buccaneers Chiefs. So
okay.
you get
well,
that. It's Tom Brady and Mahomes. But yes, Packers Patriots not quite as appealing at 4:25. All right. At Fans Fantasy on Twitter is how you give him a follow. Appreciate you, pal. We will talk to you again next Thursday, all right?
Thanks, guys.
It's Ken Zalis joining us for picks here on GCR. Picks are also brought to you by Glory Days Grill. The Oktoberfest menu is available now at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. Includes the Bavarian burger on the pretzel bun. Ooh, so good. The Slam Dunk pretzels, the cheddar ale soup, the chicken schnitzel, the brewer sausage platter, the brewer sausage sandwich. Oh, all of it's wonderful. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website for you to get your order in. Get a tidbit and tubular quickly, and then coming up after that, it will be Weekend at Bookies. Glenn Clark Radio. Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
See Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete in one of the world's premier equestrian events at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Academy, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Don't miss the breathtaking excitement of the dynamic cross-country competition or the elegance of dressage and precision of show jumping. There's also great shopping and activities, including a fresh food fest, corgi race, and a beer, wine, and spirits showcase. So come enjoy a beautiful fall day at the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th. Learn more and buy tickets at maryland5star.us.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens tight end Mark Andrews' path to NFL stardom, from his late decision to play the sport full-time through having to overcome type 1 diabetes and more. Also, inside, we introduce you to football players at Maryland, Navy, Towson, and Morgan State. And we give you everything you need to know for betting football this season. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of demos, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
If you can't listen or watch live, you can subscribe to the show via Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review while you're there. Or, if lying isn't your thing, we'll take a 3.5-star review too.
Tidbit is brought to you today by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. You can use that code TAILGATE, save $100 when you reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill right now at ginsugrills.com. It is the perfect ceramic tailgate or home grill for searing, grilling, baking, and smoking all kinds of food. Again, ginsugrills.com. Use the code TAILGATE and save $100. Yes, we need a microphone.
All right, so I saw this one last night from Bally Sports, I guess L.A. I'm not sure which one it was.
Sports.
Bally.
No, we don't do that.
Everyone knows.
Right.
Everyone knows what it is.
Stop.
But Ohtani.
This is not a good look. You're a broadcaster now. We get things right.
Bally Sports.
Bally.
Let's
go.
Ohtani is leading the Angels in plate appearances and innings pitched this season, which has not been done.
It's gonna be hilarious when I have it wrong. That's gonna be the funny part. Is when I'm doing, and then somebody else is like, "Oh, actually, you got it wrong." That's gonna be the funny part.
1876 was the last time this was done by Jim Devlin of the Louisville Grays, when he led his team with 299 plate appearances in 622 innings pitched. Jim Devlin in 1876. Rest in peace. He died when he was 33 years old from tuberculosis. And he got kicked out of baseball for intentionally losing games.
Okay. Who knew? Not I.
Now we know. Now we know. And then my actual tidbit question for you, or do we have? Yeah, we have time, right?
Not really, but I mean, is it what's?
It was the Aaron Judge thing from yesterday. He has the most extra base hits in a or he's coming. He has a chance to break the record for most extra base hits in a season in baseball history with 0 triples in a season. So I was going to ask you who else is on that list.
I have no idea.
You want to do it tomorrow?
I'm going to guess McGuire didn't have many triples.
You would be correct. He is tied for first right now. He has 91 extra base hits. Tied with...
This would have been a good one with Stan, though.
With Giancarlo Stanton in 2017, who didn't hit a triple.
That's a little bit more surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not stunning, but that's a bit more surprising than McGuire.
I was waiting for Aaron Judge to hit a triple last night.
It seems like Babe Ruth probably didn't have many triples.
Yes, Babe Ruth is... I thought he was on here. Oh, wait, maybe he's... Oh,
really?
You know what? Yeah, because I think he's like the extra base hits leader in a season, and he had a triple in whatever that season was. He had like 115 or something.
Good for Babe Ruth having a triple. That's stunning. Who else?
So McGuire and Stanton are tied for first. Aaron Judge is right behind now with like 89 extra base hits. Man Ramirez had 87. Frank Thomas in 2000 had 87.
That makes sense.
Sean Green in 1999.
I'm surprised he's on this list.
Sammy Sosa, 86. Xander Bogaerts in 2019.
Sosa, I'm a little surprised. And Bogaerts, that doesn't make sense at all.
And then A-Rod had 85 as well.
All right.
In 2007.
Very good. Tubular brought to you today by the Maryland 5-Star. Come see Olympic athletes in action as the nation's best horses and riders compete at the Maryland 5-Star, the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill. Presented by Brown Advisory, October 13th through 16th in Cecil County. Orioles will wrap up their series because the schedule dictates that they must. They play a matinee game with the Red Sox this afternoon. It's at 1:30 on Masson. Mike Bauman and Nathan Eovaldi, the pitching matchup. Phillies, Cubs at 2 on MLB Network. Rays, Guardians at 6. Dodgers, Padres at 9:30. Football tonight, of course, Dolphins, Bengals, 8:15 on Prime Video. ESPN's got Utah State, BYU at 8. The Golf Channel for round 1 of whatever the Sanderson Farms Championship is at 3:30. Some hockey and it's all there. GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything that matters, non-sports.
Season 6 premiere of Young Sheldon.
Nope.
On CBS.
I said matters.
Celebrity Wheel of Fortune. Tiki Barber is going to be on there.
Matters.
Tiki Barber is going to be on there.
Matters.
New episode of Atlanta and a new episode of She-Hulk.
Sure, those things do matter to
Hell's
people.
Kitchen season 21 premieres.
I'm not into Hell's Kitchen, but, somebody cares, I'm sure. Somebody cares. All right, thanks today to Ken Zalis. Thanks also to Iron Eagle and to Steve Suter. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. On the program tomorrow, we'll preview the Bills. Eric Wood, their radio color analyst, former offensive lineman, will join us. Of course, Bo Smoka will join us. And speaking of the Bills, Tyler Matakevich, who plays for the Bills, is also very involved locally with Show Your Soft Side, of the wonderful animal charity that I'm involved with. And we figured we'd catch up with him because I don't really know how he got hooked up with a local charity. I don't know what the story is, and I just kind of want to find out. So ahead of Bills Ravens, we thought it'd be a good time to do that. All right, thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore County Police Department, the Maryland 5-Star, Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, the Costas Inn, Maryland Lottery, Guilford Hall Brewery, Great 8's Memorabilia, the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Maryland Vascular Specialist, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass is how you follow him. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go Birds. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. If you're with us on video, give us 1 minute. Refresh wherever you started from. If you're with us on audio, do nothing. Weekend at Bookies is coming up next.